Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Lead Up for Women Speak Up to Lead Up. And we are now on episode number 143. And today we are diving in to talk about planning and achieving your goals. What better time to do that? But in the months of December and January. And before we get to that, I certainly want to thank our sponsor of today's show, Hello World. Are you frustrated with your kids? Do you constantly worry about them? Or maybe you're just sick and tired of dealing with misbehaviors in your home? Well, have no fear. No Problem Parenting is here to help you turn any emotional or behavior problem into a no problem while strengthening your relationship with your kids at the same time. You don't have to be the bad guy to get your kids to behave. Join the No Problem Parenting community where you will find down to earth, practical, fun, no nonsense, and even bass-ackwards tips and ideas for how to deal with and overcome any parenting challenge. Go to noproblemparenting.com and get started now. Become the confident leader your kids crave you to be. And of course, we will have all of those links available for you at your fingertips and on our Facebook page today live. And I'm excited about goals. Whenever we talk about goals, I'm all over it. Many of you know that I've been coaching on goal setting for a long time. You can't become a peak performance. You can't be a peak performer in your life unless you are setting goals. That's the only way to achieve that. And I'm a peak performance coach and have been for over 20 years. And it's very important. And today I welcome the beautiful guest, Deborah Eckerling. Deborah, I'm so happy to have you on our show today because you're a goal setting expert, according to what I have here in front of me. Deborah is, by the way, actually an award winning author of Your Goal Guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, and founder of the DEB method, which is her system for goal setting simplified. A corporate consultant, speaker, and motivator, Deborah is the host of the Goal Chat, Twitter Chat, Goal Chat Live on Facebook and LinkedIn, and the Deb Show podcast. Deb, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I love that you love goals, and I love that we get to talk about it today because that's really, even though goal setting is year round, this is the time of year where we're focusing on the wins and the plans. And that's really what success is all about, right? Figuring out what you want, making a plan, and getting it.
Yeah, just to let everyone know, we're recording this podcast in the first, pretty much the first week of December. So based on when this comes out, it'll give you a little bit of baseline to understand that. But goal setting is something I talk about every month, all month. It's not just the month of December or having New Year's resolutions that never stick in January. Goal setting, but one of the things I see, Deb, about the end of the year is that we need to look back at what goals do we set for ourselves, what goals do we achieve, what goals do we not achieve, and why. And I think those are important baselines and important factors to value when looking at where we want to go in the next year. What is your method on working with your clients on that?
Well, yes and yes. And so I've been leading goal setting groups for years, doing workshops, coaching, all that sort of thing. But it wasn't until about wow, the time it goes, right? Till I rebranded myself as the Deb method. And so that is my system. And my belief is when you set the foundation for your goals, when you really take the time to figure out what you want, then you can use that as the springboard for your plans. To get what you want, you need to know what you want. So Deb stands for determine your mission, explore your options, brainstorm your path. So it's the simple goal setting simplified, which is my tag and my motto. Changing your life, embracing change, facing the journey of creating the life you want is challenging enough. The instructions need to be simple, so I made them really simple. Yeah. But it really starts with that, the D, the determine your mission, because when you know what you want, why you want it, and how you help, that's fuel for everything that you create.
Yeah, and that's so crystal clear too. What was your path like, Deb? what really brought you into goal setting? I'd love our listeners to get to know you a little bit better, to understand what your past was like. Were you successful in business and everything you've done? Have you come from corporate America? Have you always been an entrepreneur? What was your life like that really, things, all of the things and experience that have happened in our lives mold us to our current state and our future, of who we are and how we serve others. So I'd love to learn how you got into doing what you do here, what experience brought you here.
Well, my background is, I want to say all of the above. My background is project management, communication. I've been a writer since, well, forever. And what really started me on this journey is I did events for Barnes& and Noble back when I lived in the Chicago suburbs. And whenever I needed to fill my calendar, I would hang out in the cafe because I would like to bring in people from the community. And so one day someone said, "Hey, Deb, will you start a writer support group?" And I said, "If you think people will come, sure, let's try it out." And who knew that one decision, that one step would lead me here? You don't know. And so for me, that kind of group meant, what did you accomplish? What are you working on? And what support do you need? And so that's really the start. So fast forward, moved to LA, restarted the group, which has evolved over the years. And now it's Write On Online. It's for writers, creatives, and entrepreneurs, because if you're one, you're also the other two. And it's all about what are you working on? Let's celebrate our wins and let's connect. It's goal setting, productivity, and community, which is really the basis for success, because you can't reach your goals on your own. So somewhere along the line, someone said, "Hey, Deb, you're good at this. Can I hire you?" Or, "Deb, you're great at this. Can you speak at my event?" And that was really that evolution. And like I said, back in, I'd say early 2018, one of my communications clients was going away. And I said, okay, this is the opportunity for me to fully step into what I was meant to do, which is to help people figure out what they want, make a plan to get it. And so that's, luckily, my name worked with the system that I have been teaching for years, and everything really evolved from there.
That's wonderful. Yeah, it's so great. And so let's talk about the visionary versus the productivity, because you have your visionary people out there that say, I have this vision of, and usually your vision is much bigger than anything you can accomplish in a year, right? The vision is what you want to see before the day you die, right? This vision that you have for your life or for other people's lives, or the change and the impact that you want to have on the world, right? It's much larger. And I see so many people struggle with having a vision of where they want their life to be or the impact that they want to make, but then they lack the actionable pieces or the drive, let's say, behind that to make it happen. So, how exactly does the goal setting work with your clients? That way, they're able to break it down and stay motivated with that intensity on a regular basis and not get deterred.
Well, as you said, it does start with the vision. When you think about the life you want, what does that look like? I call it Goaltopia, because when I was writing my book, I was looking for a word that meant achieving your goals and living the life you want, and it didn't exist. So I made one up, of course. But if you think about that life, the way, what you love, what you want, do you want to build a business? Do you want to create a service that helps others? And it really, this as well, it goes back to it's not just what you do, it's your unique slant on it, but also how you help, whether it is through a product, a service, entertainment, information, education. When you bring the you that is you out into the world, what is the thing that drives you? So when you think about that vision, and I know a lot of people in the last couple of years, it's cluttered because what they thought they wanted doesn't exist anymore, but really it exists in a different form. So it really starts with the way in which you want to impact the world and what is the mission behind it. And once you have that, that's when you get into E, the explore your options. Okay, you've got these big dreams, but what does that look like for you? You want to make an impact. Does that mean writing a book or starting a podcast, web show, doing courses, workshops, speaking? But for you, what is that fit? So I think that the E, the explore your options, the research phase, that's so important because we, the world is literally at our fingertips. If we've learned anything the last couple of years, is you can really bring whatever information you need into your life from the comfort of your home. And then add into the fact that a lot of people stopped commuting, you have extra time in the day. So whether the goals that you're setting are in alignment with your current career or a side hustle or something you're looking toward creating for the future, you have extra bonus time that even if you don't use all of it, even if you use a little bit of it a week to build what you want to create, it'll happen. It'll just, the timing. You never know the timing, what you put into it, you will get out of it, but still sometimes it takes more time to get to those big goals that you want. So it starts with the idea, and then it's the action, or I want to build this company, or I want to make an impact in this field, or I just want to be happy. What does that mean to you? Those are the personal goals are just as, if not more important than the professional ones. So it's important to look at the whole big picture. So you start with the idea and what you're going to create, and then you go into the planning. So when you do that groundwork and think, okay, I want to be this, or I want to create this, or I want to achieve this goal, that's where the brainstorm, your path comes in. And I say, write down everything. Personal goals, professional goals, short-term, long-term benchmarks, tasks. You want to put some easy things in there, as well as some stretch or dream goals, and then look at it, divide and conquer to see what you need to do, and then find ways to fit it into your life. And that's working with the life you have, I think, is another huge thing. We want these lofty goals. We can achieve them, but if you only have an hour a week to work towards them, you'll get there. It's just going to take longer.
Right. And I personally use the ULA platform of goal setting. So it's going from 21 goals, and you do 3 in each field. So it's fun, fitness, finance, your field, your family, your faith, fun. I think finances was the other one, and friends. So I take those 3, then we have 21 goals, and we narrow it down to 7, and then we narrow it down to 1. And most of the time, that one goal that you have for the year isn't even one of the 7 or the 21, because I like to look at the one big thing for the year and say, if I just did this one thing, it would transform my life completely. We always have one thing. And, along the way in goal setting, there has to be celebrations. Dave Ramsey talks about it a lot in his gazelle-like intensity of the money makeover. And many people are familiar with him. And in the money makeover, he talks about celebrating your wins. And you said that as well. We need to celebrate our wins along the way, because if we're not celebrating our wins, we get burnt out. If you're just goal setting and achieving and just say, great, and then move on to the next one and hit that one and move on to the next one, you're never really enjoying the journey. You're only just achieving, in achievement mode of reaching these goals, but are you really happy? Is there joy in your life? Are you relishing in your accomplishments? Don't you think that's a huge piece of goal setting?
Oh, absolutely. And I think especially when you're working towards something that's going to take a while, is to keep like a win journal, whether it's a notebook or an online document, or you keep it in your calendar. And if it's a win a day or a win a week, or No, you have to have at least one win a week. I'm not going to whittle it down even more than that, but the small wins are just as important as the huge ones. And something that's very helpful is the tracking of those accomplishments, because at the end of the month, when you're like, the future I want seems so far away, you can look back and say, but wait, look what I accomplished.
Yeah.
Really, I am getting somewhere. And that fuel is so important to say, okay, I'm getting there. Let's keep going. The other really important piece, which I'm sure you know and you see, is a lot of the reason why goals fail is people just, they overthink them, or they underthink them, or they're living a goal from a previous incarnation of themselves. Oh, this is my education. This should be my career. No, we do not do shoulds. So starting with the, what do I love? What makes me unique? What am I really passionate about? And if you're doing that, if you're bringing the things that you love, your unique spin on it into the world, then you have that joy is built in to everything you do. So it makes every accomplishment that much sweeter, every win more to celebrate. Oh, look what I am doing. I love this. And when you love what you do, it shows just as much as when you don't love what you do, it really shows. So why not love what you do?
I agree with that. I agree with that. And, giving yourself some grace, one of the biggest, like you had said, reasons why goals fail. One, they're not SMART goals. So they're not specific and measurable and actionable and realistic, right? Timed. So goal having a time a limit on that goal is super important. And I think self-sabotage gets in the way. There's a lot of blockers, fear, anger, self-sabotage, sometimes envy, looking at people around you and wishing you had what they had. And now you're not focused on your goals. You're focused on, what the Joneses have next door, and kind of getting off course, right? The little shiny object syndrome, where you get off course. I'm sure you see all of this in working with your groups. Is that right?
I do. And that's why the mission and the motto are so important. So when you have in your mission, again, it's is who you are, what makes you unique, what you're bringing into the world, and how it helps. And but from that, to create a motto, something short, motivating, it can be a theme song, it could be your dream title, it could just be what you believe in. So mine is goal setting simplified. When you have that motto and you use that as the compass, as the lens of which you see all opportunities, it's really helpful, because if something comes your way, hey, would you like to speak on this panel? You can say, is it in alignment with my mission and motto? Yes, then yes. No, then you have to ask, will it benefit me in other ways? Is it a good networking opportunity? Am I going to meet my people? If yes, then yes. If no, then it's thank you. This is not the right fit. Perhaps we can work together in the future. And when you have that kind of compass to guide you, it's really, really helpful, because when you say yes to the things that aren't a good fit for you, you're saying no to yourself. And we want to be saying yes to ourselves, to what we're creating all the time. So that's just a really simple goal setting simplified, a very simple way to view your activities as you're creating.
What's a good step one for a listener today who is struggling to set goals for themselves, for 2022, or they didn't reach their goals in 2021, so they just threw them out the window? It's kind of like someone who decides they want to lose 50 pounds in 2021, right? They get to the end of the year and they've lost 5, and they're like, well, I didn't do it, so forget it. I'm just going to go back to my normal way of, it was excruciating this year and I didn't reach my goal. And, they feel that they've just failed. Obviously they weren't set themselves up for success, but what would be the first step in setting yourself up with success?
Well, first thing I would say is, woohoo, you lost 5 pounds. That's 5 pounds. I was going to say more, less than you were at the beginning of the year, and celebrate that. So I would say I'm going to give a couple. The first step is to think about your year and list out 10 wins. and you have them. And if you think you don't, ask your partner or your best friend, someone you trust, to say, I had a really rough year and I know I had some good things happen to me. Can you help me remember? And make that list and paste it somewhere in your office where you can look at it and say, oh, look, I accomplished. This is really yay me. And no win is too small. I do Toot Your Horn Thursday in my Facebook group because I want people to recognize their wins every week and also be recognized. So uh, I can say, hey, good job, congratulations, but also other members of the community can be supportive of that. So start by listing the wins. If you're having trouble figuring out what's next for you, I have this exercise. It's my take on journaling called directed journaling. And what you do is set 3, 4, 5, 15-minute appointments with yourself where it's just free writing on any topic that's related to what you want to create. So it can be, what do I want to do this year? Well, I love this. Oh, I love that too. And just allow yourself to babble on paper. And the trick is to do this 3, 4, 5 times and don't look at your journal entries until you've completed the exercise, because then you can go back and read it and really pick out the things that you talked about a lot, because you may have thought one thing was your interest, but you only mentioned it 2 or 3 times. And then this great idea that you mentioned 10 times a day when you're doing your journaling, you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize that I was passionate about doing this. This is something I need to explore. Can I make this happen? Can I bring this into my life? So allow yourself to dream and look at what you put out there, because it's really hard to figure out things in your head. But when you write it down and get a better perspective of it, you can really find those common themes. And from there, really hone in on some either big goals or little goals. You can have a goal to just have a win every week in the journey towards the life you want. And that's go you.
Yeah, I like that. And I've said this probably on every show, and I want the listeners to hear it again. Your relationships, your business, your faith, your everything can only grow to the extent that you do. Remember that. So if you're focused on growing your business, but you're not focused on growing yourself and expanding yourself to another level, your business will struggle. If you're not focused on growing yourself to understand someone you're in a relationship